Max, we mentioned yesterday on the show that the UIL Legislative Council was meeting yesterday.
Yep.
And one of the big, at least the high-profile thing on the docket was this notion, and it was kind of left purposefully vague. It was, I believe, the way it was phrased was to reconsider the ban on Friday night Texas high school football broadcasts. So, for those who don't know, you cannot televise a live Texas high school football game on Friday night. If you notice, I know that you're thinking, oh, well, except in the state championships. That is the exception. If you notice, when ESPN kind of muddies their way through a Texas high school football broadcast, it's always on a Thursday or Saturday.
Yeah, usually Saturday.
Usually Saturday. That's because that is a state rule. For UIL teams, you cannot broadcast a Texas high school football game live on Friday nights. You can do, for example, we'll get into that. Okay. I do feel like I want to be intellectually honest with our audience. I feel like I try very hard to be honest about where I'm coming from, who I am, what I'm about. And so I need to be clear about something. I do participate in Fox Sports Southwest's broadcasts. I am an analyst for them.
You are television's Greg Tepper.
I have cashed paychecks from Fox Sports Southwest, right? So I can only view the world through my own eyes. That said, I do believe I think I have as of a news network would say, a fair and balanced view of this topic. Mm-hmm. So yesterday, the UIL Legislative Council voted to allow, for one time only, 2 games to be broadcast on Fox Sports Southwest on the first Friday night. The idea is that in Minnesota, speaking of hockey, it's a very hockey-heavy show today. In Minnesota, they have Hockey Day in Minnesota, right? The first day of high school hockey in Minnesota. It's a big celebration. In Indiana, they have Basketball Day in Indiana, right? Because it's so big there. They want to create Football Day in Texas. And the idea being broadcast 2 live games and have a number of other live look-ins at games across the state. And so, again, Fox Sports Southwest would be the ones. It's past Legislative Council. I believe there's one other thing that it has to get the check mark, but from what I understand, that's a rubber stamp type thing. So this is going to happen on September 1st, is that for the first time, Friday night Texas high school football games are going to be broadcast on television. Now, let's talk about what this doesn't mean. Okay. This does not mean that it is imminent that you are going to be able to watch all sorts of Texas high school football games live in like 20 years or in 5 years or in 2 years. I don't think that's imminent. I think this is the UIL dipping their toe into the water, and this kind of quote-unquote pilot program that they're doing, I get the feeling that they're comfortable if this is as far as they go for a while. I don't get the feeling that the UIL is itching to totally go out there and say, yeah, all these games. Let's put them on TV. Because I think the UIL is cognizant. First of all, the UIL does not have the rights to the games.
Right.
Only the individual schools have the rights to the games. So that's a key component in this. The other thing is that, and the argument we always hear, the argument from time immemorial as to why you cannot televise Texas high school football games on Friday nights is that people won't go.
Right.
Is that they will stay home and watch the game on TV, and then the gate revenue, which is where a lot of schools make money, will dip.
Right.
I don't buy that.
Neither do I.
I have never subscribed to that theory that people are not going to go to the game if the game is televised. I think that because, okay, let's take another example, Max. Let's say that Liverpool, your favorite team, right? Liverpool is playing FC Dallas in Frisco.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
The game is on ESPN.
Right.
The game's on ESPN.
Right.
Is there any doubt? Is there any question as to whether or not you're going up to Frisco.
Oh, no, I'll be there.
You will be there.
If I have to break in, I will break
You
in.
will murder people in your path to
I
get
won't
there.
do that, but I will find a way to get through those gates.
You will get there, right? Because that is important to you.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like, and especially because especially if the tickets were $10, right? Because to me, I think that's pretty much the most I've ever seen high school football tickets go for is $10. It's not like you are saving a ton of money by sitting at home. The NFL is a bad example of this because people are saying, oh, well, people are staying home and watching the NFL. They're not going to games. Well, yeah, that's because tickets are $150. Okay? Tickets to high school football games are cheap. Yeah. It is cheap entertainment, which is one of the things I love about it. It's cheap entertainment. Okay? So I don't think that's a great comparison. The other thing is that there are already Texas high school football games that are broadcast, right?
Yeah.
Whenever Cedar Hill played Bishop Gorman, right? Were the stands empty because everybody stayed home watching on ESPN?
No.
Do people not show up to the state championship games because the games are broadcast on Fox Sports Southwest?
Good Lord, I can't imagine how many would actually be there.
Right. So, look, I think that this is the UIL dipping a toe in the water to say, let's see how this goes. In the end, though, I think one thing that goes underreported here is that the schools have the emergency brake. That if a school does not want to have their game broadcast,
don't have to.
Guess what?
Yeah.
It's not going to be broadcast.
Right.
They have their hand on the brake.
Yeah.
That whenever they want to stop it, they can.
Yeah.
That said, I'll be entirely honest. Yesterday, this decision came down about 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
About 2 o'clock. 2:02.
Yeah.
My phone starts blowing up.
Yeah.
From coaches across the state saying, hey, we want to be broadcast. Hey, we want to be broadcast. Hey, we want this game to be televised. Yeah. I heard from no fewer than 7 different schools yesterday who said, we want that game on Fox Sports Southwest. Right. We want it. Now, those coaches are not very smart because they don't realize I don't have that kind of pull.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what they're doing.
Talk to?
But that is the level of prestige that comes with being televised. That is still a big deal. And that they are willing to, first of all, I think a lot of coaches don't believe that the gate would be impacted. But if it was, they're willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the future, though. I do want to have a I'm sorry, did you have something to say?
No, the only thing I was going to say is I feel like the argument against TV on Friday nights, the assumption is always, well, if all the games are broadcast, no one will go to the games. Well, there's no way 700 games are going to be broadcast.
Correct.
Right? Like, let's just say, for argument's sake, that football night in Texas was every Friday night, right? And it was just one game. Like, that's not changing much.
No, that's
not
11
undercutting
games.
the entire system. It's, hey, we have one spotlight game. This is going to be our thing, you know?
Absolutely. And again, I can't stress enough, if the school doesn't want this to happen, it's not happening. It's not like the UIL can go to them and say, or Fox for that matter, can go to them and say, hey, we're broadcasting this game. There's nothing you can do about it.
I don't know. That's kind of my one thing. It's like, I think it would be cool to have football night in Texas every Friday night.
Right.
That's just my personal stance. I think it would be awesome. But, I understand the counter arguments. I have a different stance.
Now, down the line, if you want to picture Texas high school football in 10 or 15 years, I do believe that these restrictions are going to be relaxed. Yeah. I do believe there's going to be more games broadcast live.
I was going to say, I don't think they will.
You don't think they will? I think they will be because I think that this is only going to ramp up the demand. And in the end, the people who stand to profit from that, I think, are ultimately going to say, well, why don't we try to expand this?
Right.
That said, there is one key element here that I think is going to have to be settled up before things get wide open, right? Or wider open. I don't think, like you said, I don't ever think we're going to have 700 games broadcast, right? I think we could have 10.
Right.
I think that's reasonable. In the end, I think that the UIL needs to put in place regulations so that there is a financial gain for schools to broadcast games. Because, fair or not, whether or not we believe the gate argument, that they're losing gate, there are a lot of people who do. And if schools, if we want to start encouraging teams to broadcast their games, then there has to be, in my mind, some sort of make good on any sort of hypothetical gate loss. I would like to see the UIL down the road. Again, I think this is 10, 15, 20 years away. Down the road, implement some sort of rule where if the game is broadcast on a statewide network, on a statewide television network, and that gets into the weeds. That's why I'm not smart enough to figure this stuff out. I would like to see the schools compensated for that. That's
Sure.
where I sit.
Yeah, of course.
That
I think
said,
there is some sort of arrangement there that probably could happen where, maybe in advance, part of the agreement is you pay what the profit that would come from a sellout. If you're TV or the UIL, there's some sort of trade there that I think could work.
Yeah, I think so. In the end, look, Texas high school football is never going to be like college football. It's never going to be that because now college football, like every game's broadcast, right?
Right.
It's not going to be that. I think down the road, maximum, we could have a dozen games on different networks or on different platforms. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I don't think this is some sort of big step down a slippery slope. I think this is the UIL dipping a toe in the water and say, let's see how this goes, and then let's check back in 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's see if we, in the same way, I think the UIL is very big about creating moments that celebrate Texas high school football, right? The state championships, the single-site state championships we talk about is a celebration, Texas high school football. I think they want to make week 1, football day in Texas, a celebration of Texas high school football. That's what I think this is. I think the television part of it is kind of secondary to that.
Yeah.
That's me.